In the next move, we're going to look at how to adjust the size of a clip and also how to rotate it. But before we get to those properties, we need to talk about the anchor point of a layer because all transformations happen around the anchor point. Now, here we have a layered Photoshop file that I've imported, and there are tons of layers. We're actually looking for the sun layer, which is on the third track. The sun clip actually is on the third track. So go ahead and select that. Now, the way that I typically adjust most properties, as I mentioned before that I don't usually use the rubber band all that often, I like to go to the Effect Controls panel. It's where we adjust effects, but it's also where we have control over our clips as well. Now, if you open up the opacity area, you'll see the opacity property. And we can just simply click and scrub left and right to adjust the opacity for a layer. We can actually manually type in a value too. So I could say 46.6%. And so we have a lot of control over our layers here in the Effect Controls panel. And this is where I like to do most of my adjusting. It's also very much like Adobe After Effects here, and that's like the best system ever. So I love that. Now I'm going to open up the motion category, and this is where we get most of the properties for a layer. We can adjust the position here, the X position, in other words, left and right position, also the Y position, up and down. We can adjust with these values if we want to. And here's where we adjust scale and rotation, which we'll talk about in the next movie. But I want to get to the anchor point. And we can see the anchor point if we click the word motion. And if we click motion, then we'll see the layer just like we did in the last movie. And here we have this control point. And again, this is referred to as the anchor point. Now we need to adjust this anchor point because if we want the sun to rotate, which we're going to do in the next movie, we can click and drag on rotation. And it's going to rotate in a really weird way because it's rotating around this point here. So what we need to do is adjust the anchor point. I'm going to click in rotation, take this back down to 0, and we can adjust the X and Y axis of the anchor point. This is a little bit counterintuitive. So as I click and drag to the right, the sun actually moves to the left. So it's really weird. We have to kind of go backwards a little bit. But what we want to do is try to get it so that the anchor point is in the center of the sun. You might need to use position to move the layer over and up and then adjust anchor point. So we might need to bring it down on the sun a little bit. And that's looking pretty good. Now, the way to tell that you've got the anchor point in the right spot, well, there is no real hard, fast way to tell, but a good way is to rotate the layer. If it rotates around its center, which it kind of does, it's a little bit off probably, but that's getting pretty close, then we know that we have our anchor point in the right spot. So now that we've adjusted the anchor point, we're ready to move on and talk about scale and rotation in the next movie.